Unique, Not Different on Now is powered by Sagicor, wise financial thinking for life.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to Unique, Not Different with me, Shamla. And with me, I have today is Mr. Ian Danulal. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yeah.
Right. And I have his interpreter, Mr. Ben Braffett. And Mr. Ian Danulal has many titles to his name. He's a researcher, educator, translator, small business owner, and I think I said educator already. I tried to memorize that before I came in. So he's a pioneer in the deaf community and in general for persons with disability. He has done so much, even represented our country and got awards internationally. So now he is here to share his story. Hi, morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm feeling good.
Okay, great. So my first question is, in terms of back when you were a kid, right, and there were no sensitization in terms of being a deaf person, what pushed you to, go out and seek an education and, get opportunities? Or not you, but your parents.
Okay. So when I was growing up, my family didn't know sign language at all, actually.
Okay.
And the first time I went to a deaf school, I was very excited because that was the first time I met other people like me who I could communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I was 13, I moved to a mainstream school. And that was kind of a shock for me. It was a different experience, hearing and deaf people together. At first, I wasn't too comfortable with that, but then after a while, I became comfortable and I started making friends and hearing people used to learn sign language with me. And at the mainstream school, one problem was there weren't enough interpreters, sign language interpreters. So there were 5 of us deaf students at that school, but only 1 interpreter. So that interpreter was trying to run between all the different classes, so that was a real limitation. And then when I graduated, I went away to America. I went to a deaf school in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I developed my education there.
But in terms of like teachers and so on, how did they cope in terms of having a deaf person? Because that's how you would be alienated to the situation. They are also alienated in terms of, not having a predominant amount of persons with disability, especially deaf persons. In the mainstream, how did they work around that situation?
Well, the teachers, a lot of them didn't know sign language.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have seen a deaf person for the first time in their class. They might start learning, but it was a slow process usually. But here in Trinidad and Tobago, we really need teachers who know sign language. That's something that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, another thing is, in the past, we'd have hearing people teaching sign language. And it's really important that we have deaf people teaching. They can teach the hearing teachers, and then after that, they'll be able to sign properly. They'll be able to sign well.
I just have to ask you your opinion. Do you think that all teachers should learn sign language as a part of their training, or like a core course in terms of training?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And
it should be included.
Yeah.
If people are interested in teaching, especially, of course, if they're interested in working in a deaf school, then they really need training in sign language.
Is there currently any institution that they could go, the Ministry of Education could partner with in terms of teaching this as a core course?
Yeah, well now at UE,
Mm-hmm.
we do have a class, Caribbean Sign Language Program.
Okay.
So we have sign language and linguistics. We have students there. And we're encouraging them to be more aware of deafness, aware of the issues that deaf people face.
In terms of,
program.
personally, what are some of the work that you're doing? Because I know you are doing an exorbitant amount of work. So what can you say in synopsis? What are some of the work that you are currently doing within the deaf community, deaf and hard of hearing?
You're right, yeah, I love doing lots of different things.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm really focused on at the moment is doing research around the Caribbean on sign languages. different on variation on different types of sign languages around the Caribbean.
Okay, and I know you recently won an award, not so?
Yeah, that's right.
Can you explain what award was that?
Yeah, I didn't know about it in advance, but Gallaudet University in the States every year gives an award to an international person. And this year they chose me from Trinidad and Tobago. I feel very proud about that. And I'm proud of my country, of Trinidad and Tobago, to represent them.
Okay, and in terms of like, in terms of Trinidad, right? We are now entering a new decade, sorry. And you see advancement in the developed countries. Where we are currently, what do you think can be done to advance in terms of within the deaf community? What do you think can be done? At least one thing that could advance us in terms of having deaf persons in the mainstream society without being prejudiced or having equal rights.
Well, I think what's really important is deaf leadership. Having deaf people leading organizations, having deaf people being independent, and leading not just one organization, but a series of organizations.
Yeah, and I know now it's carnival time. There's a lot of entertainment and so on going on. Is there any accommodation? Because I know, everyone has a social life. So in terms of entertainment in general within our country, is there any, facilities that cater for deaf persons to equally enjoy these entertainment?
Yeah, deaf people are included, like hearing people, but deaf people, for example, sometimes enjoy music, like they feel the vibrations of the music. But one thing that's a problem in that area is, say you go to the movies, you go to the cinema.
Right.
At the moment, there are no closed captions, there's no subtitles in the cinema.
Right.
So there are limitations to the access that we have at the moment. In my experience, when I've been to other countries, captions, for example, are something that you can find in other places, and that's something that we need here.
We need to advance it. Well, I think.
Yeah, right.
I am sure people like Mr. Derek Chin, I don't know if I could call his name here, and so on could, have a talk and see what can be done, because, it is simple, just putting in captions and stuff like that. And
yeah, right.
to close it off, what would you like to tell, the mainstream society in terms of inclusion? What would you like to say to them in terms of having access? How easy it is? Because some people may think, oh, wow, we are overdoing it in terms of asking. But how easy it is to accommodate us?
Okay, well, I would like to tell people there are lots of hearing people who have a kind of attitude. You tell them they're deaf and they say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I think what I want to tell people is there's nothing to be sorry about. There's nothing wrong with me. Okay, I don't hear, but I experience the world visually. I have the same body as you. I just don't hear. So people don't need to be sorry. They don't need to feel bad. I can travel. I can do all the things that everyone else can do. So that's what I'd like to tell people: not to feel sorry, not to feel pity.
Very good. I want to say thank you. I know, Ben, you're also a pioneer within the deaf community doing lots of work. So maybe I can have you as a guest later on to discuss what you're doing, especially with the University of the West Indies. And with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for coming and waking up so early and coming and sharing your story with us. I'm sure, Trinidad and Tobago is enlightened by it. And with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in to another segment of Unique but Different on TTT Live Now with me, Shamla. Until next week, be good. Bye, guys.